A child educated only at school is an uneducated child. George Santayana. This quote is such a strong statement and it means so much to me. I'm passionate about our youth and I feel that my life is pretty much surrounded by our youth. I work as a high school secretary and I also volunteer and I coach numerous Little League activities. So the age range from preschool all the way up to high school seniors. I'm passionate about our youth and I want them to understand that they are our future and they need to understand the importance of an education. So, to start, many children today do not receive an education outside of the traditional school setting. A study done by the American Academy of Pediatrics shows that if parents read to their children at least 20 minutes every day, they hear 1.8 million words a year. By the time they're in 6th grade, they've read at least 851 hours. And most importantly, these children are likely to score 90% better than their peers on standardized testing. That's just reading 20 minutes a day. On the contrary, students that aren't read to daily have lower language comprehension, smaller vocabularies, and lower cognitive skills. It's so important for us to be involved in our children's education from an early age. We have greater impacts on elementary school children than our secondary school children. So it's important that this is instilled in our children from the very beginning. As we know, the roles that parents play in children's education is vital. It's vital to their success. The Illinois State Board of Education actually did a comparison in SAT scores. And that comparison, in ACT scores. It was done based on whether parents were involved in a student's life or whether they weren't. For the students whose parents were involved in their education, they performed significantly higher than those whose parents were not. On average, they scored 2.5 points higher than those who didn't have that involvement. One of the biggest differences in the scores were students whose parents required them to maintain a 3.0 GPA or higher. They scored on average 5 points higher than those whose parents didn't require them to maintain a 3.0 GPA or higher. Now, I know that this may seem like it's a lot on parents, but to ensure that our children are being properly educated, it actually takes a village. So it's not only on the parent, but also on our school staff. In 1993, Susan DeBauer and Joyce Epstein actually completed a study on this. And it showed that school and teacher practices is one of the strongest predictors of whether parents will be involved. And pretty much what they found is that if parents are more comfortable with the school staff and the practices at school, that they're more likely to be involved. This I can actually relate to. When I go to my son or my daughter's teachers, it's just like we're sitting down having a conversation. And because we're so comfortable with each other, it's easy. If they ask me to do something at school, without a question, I'm going to be involved with it. It's just you have that comfortability. And how you feel with your school staff, it actually even plays a role on how willing parents are to assist their children with homework in specific classes. So it does show that if a student likes a parent, they're more willing to help their child with homework in that class as opposed to a teacher that they don't care for. So one of my final points is a parent's attitude towards education also plays a major part in how their children view education. And not only their attitude towards education, but their actual education level itself. So I do have a graph here, a chart here, that has the correlation between parents' education and how involved they are with their child. So this was actually taken from the National Household Education Survey Program of 2016. And if we start down here, it shows parents with less than a high school degree, a high school diploma, some college, bachelor's degree, and a graduate degree or higher. And the blue columns here show if they attended a school or class event, and the orange shows whether they volunteered. So you can see that as the education level progresses, their involvement in school progresses. And this has a major impact on our children. So to conclude this, It's very important for parents to ensure that they're working with their children outside of regular school, that they're continuing to work on homework, teach them to ensure that their children are being properly educated. As shown in the studies and some of the statistics mentioned previously, it's so beneficial for children to get this education at home. Making sure our children are ready for the future, it's everyone's job, not just parents. So let's make sure we all do our part in helping our children.